Chun Rodriguez stared at her screen, watching the usual patterns of space noise dance across the display. She worked the night shift at Lunar Orbital Station Harmony, humanity's listening post for signals from deep space. Most nights were quiet. Most nights, nothing happened. Tonight was different. The alarm beeped softly at first, then grew louder. Chun sat up straight, her coffee forgotten. A signal was coming through, and it was in Galactic Standard. She had only learned that language 15 years ago, when Earth first met aliens. Her hands moved quickly across the controls, cleaning up the static and boosting the signal strength. A voice came through, broken and afraid. Chun's translator worked fast, putting the alien words into English on her screen. What she read made her blood run cold. The message came from a ship called the Gentle Wanderer. It was a passenger vessel carrying 3,000 Quillarians. They were civilians, families traveling between worlds. 800 of them were children. Their engines had failed in the Castor Nebula, a dangerous place known for pirates and criminals. They were stranded, helpless, and their life support systems were dying. They had maybe 14 hours before the air ran out. Chun grabbed her communicator and called her supervisor. Within minutes, the message reached Admiral Sarah Okonkwo, the commander of Earth's defense fleet. The admiral was a tall woman with dark skin and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She read the distress message 3 times, her jaw tight. Her staff gathered around her desk in the command center. They looked worried. "Admiral, the Castor Nebula is 16 hours away at maximum speed," said Commander Park, her tactical officer. "Even if we leave right now, we might not make it in time. The galactic community has protocols for this," added another officer. "We should report it through proper channels and let them handle it." Admiral Okonkwo looked up from the message. Her voice was quiet, but hard as steel. "How long would that take?" The officer checked his tablet. "With proper authorization and committee approval. Probably 30 to 40 hours for their nearest fleet to deploy. Those people will be dead in 14 hours, the admiral said flatly. "Ma'am, there's also the matter of the pirates," Commander Park continued. "The Castor Nebula is controlled by the Vrek clans. They're dangerous and well-armed. And the galactic community has strict rules about Deathworlder military action. If we deploy our warfleet without authorization, there could be serious political consequences." The admiral stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth below. The blue planet turned slowly, peaceful and beautiful. She thought about the Quillarians. They were a gentle species, artists and philosophers who loved music and poetry. When humanity first joined the galactic community, many alien species had been afraid. Humans came from Earth, a Class 12 death world where everything was more dangerous, more violent, more extreme than on normal planets. Most aliens saw humans as barely controlled savages, but the Quillarians had been different. Their ambassador had spoken up for humanity when other species wanted to quarantine Earth. He had said humans were dangerous, but not evil. He had given Earth a chance. Now Quillarian families were dying in space, and the galaxy's bureaucracy was too slow to save them. Admiral Okonkwo turned back to her staff. "A distress call is a distress call. It doesn't matter if it comes from humans or aliens. We don't leave people to die. Not on my watch. Not ever." "Admiral, the political fallout," someone started to say. She cut them off with a sharp gesture. "I'll deal with the politics later. Right now, 3,000 people are counting on someone to help them. We're going." The room fell silent for a moment. Then Commander Park straightened up and saluted. "Yes, ma'am. I'll begin fleet mobilization immediately." What happened next was something the galactic community would talk about for years. Most alien species needed weeks to mobilize a military fleet. There were forms to fill out, committees to consult, authorizations to obtain, supply chains to coordinate. The process was slow and careful and safe. Humans did it in 40 minutes. Alarms rang throughout the Terran defense fleet. Ships that had been in standby mode roared to life. Crews who had been sleeping or off duty sprinted to their stations. Supply ships loaded provisions at emergency speed. Weapons systems came online. Engines began their startup sequences. Admiral Okonkwo stood in the command center of the flagship, the TDS Indomitable, watching her fleet come together. 12 destroyers, fast and deadly. 4 carriers filled with fighter craft. 2 massive dreadnoughts with enough firepower to crack a moon. 30 support vessels carrying supplies, medical equipment, and rescue gear. Over 15,000 men and women, all moving with urgent purpose. The communications officer looked up from her station. Admiral, Galactic Community Headquarters is calling. They detected our mobilization and want to know what we're doing. Tell them we're responding to a distress call, the Admiral said. We'll file the proper reports. Later, they're saying we need authorization before deploying military assets. Tell them the authorization. Is 3,000 people about to die? The Admiral's voice was cold. We're launching in 10 minutes, whether they approve or not. Around the fleet, final preparations completed. Docking clamps released. Ships pulled away from their stations and formed up in attack formation. It was a sight that made many aliens nervous. Human warships moved with a speed and coordination that seemed reckless to species with slower reflexes. Every vessel knew exactly where to be and when to be there. Admiral Okonkwo sat in her command chair and looked at the main display. It showed the route to the Castor Nebula, a 16-hour journey through faster-than-light space. Somewhere at the end of that journey, 3,000 Quilarians were waiting in the dark, their air running out, hoping someone would come. All ships report ready. Admiral, Commander Park said. The Admiral took a deep breath. She thought about the rules they were breaking, the protocols they were ignoring, the political mess this would create. Then she thought about children running out of air in a broken ship. All ships, she said into the fleet-wide channel, her voice carrying to every crew member on every vessel. We have received a distress call from a civilian vessel in crisis. 3,000 people, including 800 children, are depending on us. The galaxy may call us Deathworlders. They may fear us. Today, let's show them what that really means. Today, we save lives. She paused and gave the order that would change everything. Fleet, engage FTL drives. Take us to the Castor Nebula. Maximum speed. The stars stretched into lines of light as the Terran Warfleet jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared into the void. Behind them, Earth continued to turn peacefully. Ahead of them, a race against time had begun. The humans were coming, and nothing in the galaxy was going to stop them. On Velkar Prime, a planet 300 light-years from Earth, Counselor Thraxus was having his morning tea when the emergency alert interrupted him. The Velkori were an old species, slow and careful, with lives that stretched for centuries. They valued patience and proper procedure above all else. Thraxus had lived for 400 years and had seen many crises come and go. The alert made him spill his tea. His screen showed a tactical map with a cluster of red DOTs moving at high speed. The computer identified them as human warships. 12 destroyers, 4 carriers, 2 dreadnoughts, all heading toward the Castor Nebula at maximum FTL velocity. Thraxus felt his 3 hearts beat faster. When Deathworlders mobilized their military, people died. That was the pattern throughout history. And humans were the worst kind of Deathworlders. From a planet so dangerous that most galactic community members refused to visit it, he activated his communicator and called for an emergency council session. Within the hour, representatives from 40 different species appeared on holographic displays in the council chamber. They all looked worried. Some were angry. A few were terrified. "The humans have launched a warfleet," Thraxus announced without preamble. "We must determine their intentions and respond appropriately." "Are they attacking someone?" asked Counselor Vina, a crystalline being whose species communicated through light patterns. "Unknown. But a fleet of that size, moving at combat speed, suggests military action. Did someone attack them first?" This came from Ambassador Krell, whose species had once made the mistake of threatening Earth. The resulting diplomatic incident had nearly started a war. "Also unknown. Our monitoring stations detected the mobilization 43 minutes ago. The humans did not request authorization or inform us of their intentions." The council erupted in concerned chatter. Multiple voices spoke at once, each species sharing their fears and theories. Were the humans expanding their territory? Had they discovered a threat? Were they coming to attack someone? In a corner of the council chamber, a young Quillarian analyst named Kip was reviewing data streams. He was junior staff, barely allowed in these meetings, but he had access to all incoming communications. Something caught his attention. He pulled up a file, and his large eyes widened. "Counselor Thraxus," Kip said quietly. Raising one delicate hand, the counselor ignored him. Focused on the debate. "Counselor Thraxus," Kip said louder. "Not now, junior analyst. We are in crisis." "That's what I'm trying to tell you," Kip said, his voice shaking but determined. "I know why the humans launched their fleet." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the young Quillarian. "Speak," Thraxus commanded. Kip's hands trembled as he brought up a display for everyone to see. 14 hours ago, the passenger vessel Gentle Wanderer sent a distress call on open frequencies. The ship suffered engine failure in the Castor Nebula. 3,000 Quillarian civilians are stranded, including 800 younglings. Life support is failing. The call went out in Galactic Standard. The chamber remained silent as the implications sank in. "The humans heard the distress call," Kip continued. "They're not attacking anyone. They're going to rescue the Gentle Wanderer." Counselor Vina's lights flickered in confusion. "They deployed an entire warfleet for a rescue operation?" "The Castor Nebula is controlled by Vrek pirates," Kip explained. "The humans would know they need military assets to protect the rescue. But this violates at least 14 different protocols," Thraxus protested. "They cannot simply deploy military forces without authorization, without committee review, without letting 3,000 people die while we debate." Kip interrupted, surprising himself with his own boldness. Before Thraxus could respond, Ambassador Marcus Chon appeared on the holographic display. The human looked tired but calm. "Counselors," he said with a slight nod, "I understand you have concerns about our fleet movement." "Concerns?" Thraxus's voice rose. "You have violated multiple galactic community protocols. You have deployed a warfleet without authorization. You have—" "We responded to a distress call," Sean interrupted smoothly. 3,000 Quillarian civilians are dying in space. We heard their call. We're going to help them. The proper procedure is to file the distress call through official channels, Vina stated. The Community Defense Force would respond according to protocol. And how long would that take? Chon asked. There was an uncomfortable pause. Everyone knew the answer. With proper authorization, committee approvals, and deployment procedures, the Community Defense Force would need at least 38 hours to respond. The Gentle Wanderer doesn't have 38 hours, Chon said quietly. They have maybe 11 hours now. Your protocols are very good for preventing hasty decisions, but they're very bad at saving lives quickly. So you just decided to ignore our laws? Thraxus demanded. We decided to save people, Chun replied. We will gladly accept whatever sanctions you wish to impose after the rescue is complete. We will attend your hearings and pay your fines. But we will not sit idle while people die, waiting for committees to authorize us to do the right thing. The display showed the human fleet continuing its high-speed journey toward the Castor Nebula. Nothing was slowing them down. Nothing would stop them that far away. Aboard the Gentle Wanderer, Captain Keel was watching his ship die around him. The life support systems were failing faster than his engineers had predicted. The air was growing thin and stale. Temperature was dropping as the environmental controls struggled in the passenger compartments. Families huddled together. Parents held their younglings close, trying to comfort them. The elderly sang traditional songs to keep spirits up. But Keel could see the fear in everyone's eyes. They all knew they were running out of time. He had sent the distress call hours ago. The galactic community had acknowledged receipt and informed him that help was being dispatched according to proper procedures. But Keel had done the math. Help wouldn't arrive in time. His communications officer, a young female named Sira, suddenly sat up straight at her station. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. It's on a tight beam frequency, encoded for our vessel only." "What does it say?" Sira's voice shook as she read it aloud. "Gentle Wanderer, this is Terran Warfleet Battle Group Harmony. We received your distress call. We are inbound. Hold on. We're coming for you. All of you." The bridge fell silent. Captain Keel felt his 3 hearts stutter in his chest. The Terrans. The humans. The Deathworlders from Earth were coming. He didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. "How far away are they?" he asked. Sira checked her instruments. "They're showing an estimated arrival time of 9 hours at their current speed." 9 hours. They had maybe 11 hours of life support left, and the humans would arrive in 9. It would be close. So very close. "Send a response," Keel said. "Thank them. Tell them we'll hold on." As Sira sent the message, Keel made an announcement to his ship. His voice carried through every corridor, every cabin, every compartment where frightened Quillarians waited in the growing cold and darkness. "This is your captain. I have received word that a rescue fleet is coming. The Terran Defense Force heard our distress call. They are 9 hours away. I need everyone to remain calm, conserve oxygen, and stay warm. Help is coming." He didn't mention that the Terrans were humans. He didn't mention that they were the species most of the galaxy feared. That detail could wait. For now, all that mattered was the simple truth. Someone had heard their cry for help. Someone was coming in the cold darkness of space. Surrounded by pirates in danger, 3,000 Quillarians waited and hoped. And far away, racing through the void at impossible speeds, the humans came on like a storm. Admiral Okonkwo stood in the Combat Information Center of the TD's Indomitable, studying the tactical displays. The Terran fleet was 8 hours into their journey, and intelligence reports were coming in about the Castor Nebula. What they showed was not encouraging. 6 Vrek pirate vessels had been detected near the Gentle Wanderer's position. The Vrek were not like most pirates. They didn't just steal cargo. They took hostages and sold them to labor colonies. Sometimes they kept prisoners for years, working them until they died. Commander Park pointed to the display. "The pirate ships are circling the Gentle Wanderer like vultures. They know the ship is helpless. They're probably waiting for the life support to fail completely before boarding. Dead or nearly dead passengers can't fight back." "How long until we arrive?" the Admiral asked. 53 minutes at current speed." "And how long does the Gentle Wanderer have?" "According to their last transmission, maybe 90 minutes of life support remaining. It's going to be very close." Admiral Okonkwo nodded slowly. She had been preparing her fleet for combat during the entire journey. Weapons were charged. Shields were ready. Every crew member knew their role. The humans had trained for situations like this, though they had never faced the wreck before. She activated the fleet-wide communication channel. Thousands of faces appeared on screens throughout the battle group, all looking at her. "We're about to enter combat," she said simply. "I know what the galaxy thinks of us. Too violent. Too quick to fight. Too dangerous. Maybe they're right. But today, those traits are going to save 3,000 lives. The wreck pirates ahead of us prey on the weak. They take innocent people and destroy families. Today, they're going to learn what happens when they threaten someone under our protection." She paused, looking at the faces of her crew. She saw humans from every continent on Earth, every culture, every background. But they all shared something. They all understood that when someone called for help, you answered. "We're not doing this for glory or politics," the Admiral continued. "We're doing this because it's right. Show them what humanity does best. We protect those who can't protect themselves. All ships, prepare for combat insertion." The fleet dropped out of FTL space at the edge of the Castor Nebula with precision that made the watching galactic community observers gasp. Human ships moved with coordination that seemed impossible. They weren't just sailing toward the Gentle Wanderer. They were conducting a combat insertion, every vessel in perfect position. Aboard the lead wreck pirate ship, clan leader Chakras watched his sensors light up with new contacts. His species looked like massive crustaceans with armored shells and powerful claws. They were strong and mean, and they had been raiding in this sector for 20 years. "What is that?" Chakras demanded, pointing at the sensor display. "Unknown vessels, clan leader," his sensor operator replied. "Multiple contacts. Large signatures. Military grade." Chakras studied the display. 12 ships? His clan had faced worse. The Vrek had battled Galactic Community Defense Forces before and won. Whoever these newcomers were, they were about to learn not to interfere with Vrek business. "Identify them," he ordered. The sensor operator worked his controls, then went very still. "Clan leader, the computer identifies them as Terran vessels. Human ships." Chakras had heard stories about humans. The galaxy said they were dangerous, aggressive, too quick to violence. But stories were just stories. He had raided hundreds of ships and fought dozens of battles. He would not be scared off by reputation alone. 6 ships against 12, he said. "Poor odds, but the Gentle Wanderer makes a good hostage. Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell the humans that if they interfere, we will destroy the passenger vessel." The message was sent. The response came back immediately, but not in words. The human fleet opened fire. What happened next was something the Vrek would remember in their nightmares. If any of them survived, human weapons were different from most galactic community technology. They had evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill everything else. Human point defense systems could track and destroy hypersonic missiles in Earth's crushing gravity. Human targeting computers could handle multiple supersonic threats simultaneously. In space, against slower pirate vessels, the human weapons were devastatingly effective. The first Vrek ship didn't even have time to raise shields. A spread of missiles from a Terran destroyer struck its engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. The ship went dark, crippled in seconds. A second Vrek vessel tried to flee. It turned away at full speed, engines blazing. A human dreadnought fired a single shot. The heavy railgun round crossed the distance in a heartbeat and punched through the pirate ship's engine core. The vessel tumbled helplessly through space, disabled but intact. The third pirate ship made the fatal mistake of targeting the Gentle Wanderer. Its weapons locked onto the helpless passenger vessel. The Vrek captain thought he could use the civilians as a shield. The TD's Indomitable responded with a full broadside. 20 heavy cannons fired simultaneously. The pirate ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized in a cloud of superheated metal and plasma. The message was clear. Threaten the innocent, and there would be no mercy. The remaining 3 Vrek ships immediately broadcast their surrender on all frequencies. Their weapons powered down. Their shields dropped. They transmitted every emergency code for capitulation they knew. The entire engagement lasted 7 minutes. Admiral Okonkwo watched as her fleet took control of the situation. Marines were already preparing boarding parties for the surrendered pirate vessels. Medical ships moved toward the Gentle Wanderer. Engineering teams gathered their equipment. Damage report? She asked. No damage to any fleet vessels, Commander Park reported. All systems green. The pirates never got a shot off. Casualties? None on our side. The destroyed pirate vessel was completely obliterated. Sensors indicate the other 5 ships have survivors. The Admiral nodded. She took no pleasure in the destruction of the 3rd pirate ship, but they had threatened civilians. That line could not be crossed. Open a channel to the Gentle Wanderer, she ordered. Captain Keel's face appeared on the main screen. The Quillarian looked exhausted and frightened, but also amazed. Behind him, his bridge crew stared in disbelief. Captain Keel, Admiral Okonkwo said. This is Admiral Sarah Okonkwo of the Terran Defense Fleet. The threat has been eliminated. We're moving engineering teams to your position now. We'll have your systems back online within 3 hours. Keel's voice shook when he spoke. Admiral, we thought we were going to die. You crossed the stars for us. You fought for us. Why? The Admiral's expression softened slightly. Because you called for help, Captain. Where we come from, when someone calls for help, you answer. Always, she gestured to her crew. Get our people over there. I want that ship breathing again within the hour. Move. The Terran fleet shifted from combat mode to rescue operations with the same brutal efficiency they had shown in battle. Engineering ships extended docking tubes to the Gentle Wanderer. Supply vessels prepared emergency oxygen and power cells. Medical teams organized triage stations inside the Gentle Wanderer. The Quillarian passengers watched through portholes as massive human ships surrounded them. They saw figures in armored suits moving between vessels. They heard the heavy clang as docking tubes connected to their hull. The humans had arrived. The Deathworlders were here. And somehow, impossibly, that made everyone feel safe. Captain Keel looked at his crew and saw the same thought reflected in every face. The galaxy had been wrong about humanity. These weren't monsters. These were guardians. These were heroes. The airlock hissed open, and Chief Engineer Lieutenant Maria Santos stepped aboard the Gentle Wanderer. She was a short woman by human standards, barely 5 feet tall, but to the Quillarians watching her approach, she looked like a giant. Her powered exosuit, necessary for human engineers to work efficiently, made her appear even larger. The Quillarian crew backed away nervously. They couldn't help it. Humans were predators from a death world. They had forward-facing eyes designed for tracking prey. Their bodies were dense with muscle and heavy bone, built to survive in gravity that would crush most species. Even their teeth were designed for tearing meat. Maria saw their fear and stopped. She reached up and removed her helmet, revealing a warm smile and kind brown eyes. She spoke in careful Quillarian, her accent strange but understandable. Hello, my name is Maria. We're here to help. We'll have your systems back online soon. Let's get you all home safe. Behind her, more human engineers came through the airlock, carrying equipment and tools. They moved with purpose, but not aggression. One of them, a tall man named Chun, waved at a group of Quillarian younglings watching from a doorway. The children squeaked in surprise and hid behind their parents. Captain Keel approached Maria carefully. Even standing at his full height, he only came up to her chest. Lieutenant Santos, Our engineering section is this way. I must warn you, the damage is extensive. Our own engineers estimate it would take days to repair. Maria smiled. Captain, we're humans. We fix things. It's kind of our specialty. She wasn't exaggerating. Within the first hour, the human engineering team had accomplished what seemed impossible. They brought in portable fusion generators and connected them to the Gentle Wanderer's power grid. Emergency oxygen systems came online, pumping fresh air throughout the ship. Temperature controls stabilized. The lights grew brighter. The Kolarian passengers, who had been huddled in the cold and dark for hours, began to emerge from their cabins. They watched in amazement as humans in powered suits moved through their ship, repairing systems with tools and techniques the Quillarians had never seen. One young Quillarian engineer named Pyrrha worked alongside Maria, watching her repair a damaged power coupling. How did you do that so fast? Pyrrha asked. That repair should have taken hours. Maria shrugged, her suit whirring softly. On Earth, everything breaks all the time. Earthquakes, storms, equipment failures from the gravity. We learned to fix things quickly, because if we didn't, people died. It's just how we grew up. While the engineers worked, the human medical teams were moving through the passenger compartments. Dr. James Patterson was a gentle man with gray hair and steady hands. He found a Quillarian mother holding her youngling, both looking weak and pale from oxygen deprivation. May I examine your child? He asked softly in Quillarian. The mother hesitated, clutching her baby closer. This was a human, a predator. But her youngling was sick, struggling to breathe. Please, James said. I'm a doctor. I just want to help. The mother slowly handed over her baby. James took the small creature with such tenderness that the mother's eyes widened. He examined the youngling carefully, checking vital signs with instruments from his medical kit. Then he placed a small oxygen mask over the baby's face and adjusted the flow. There, he said gently, handing the youngling back. That should help. Keep the mask on for another hour. Your little one will be fine. The mother looked at her baby, already breathing easier, then at the human doctor. Tears formed in her large eyes. Thank you, she whispered. James smiled. That's what we're here for. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out. Human Marines helped elderly Quillarians to medical stations. Engineers shared their ration packs with hungry passengers. A young corporal named Wei found a group of frightened Quillarian younglings hiding in a corner. Hey there, Wei said, sitting down on the floor to make herself less intimidating. You okay? The younglings stared at her with wide eyes. One of them, a small female named Pixa, spoke up bravely. Are you going to eat us? Wei laughed, a warm sound that made the younglings relax slightly. No, I'm not going to eat you. I'm vegetarian, actually. Do you know what that means? Pixa shook her head. It means I only eat plants. No meat at all. But you're a predator, one of the other younglings said. Everyone says humans are predators. Well, we can be, Wei admitted. But we can also be friends. Here, let me show you something. She taught them a human hand-clapping game, a simple rhythm that made them giggle. Soon, all the younglings were playing, their fear forgotten. Other children came to watch and join in. Before long, Wei had a crowd of young Quillarians around her, laughing and playing. Their parents watched in amazement. These were the terrifying Deathworlders? These gentle, caring people who played with children and treated the sick with such tenderness? Captain Keel walked through his ship, observing everything. He saw human engineers working side by side with his crew, sharing knowledge and techniques. He saw human medics treating passengers with skill and compassion. He saw Marines carrying supplies and helping the elderly. He found Admiral Okonkwo in one of the main corridors. reviewing a status report. Even out of her armor, she was tall and imposing. But when she saw him, she smiled. "Captain, your ship will be operational again within 2 hours. We've stabilized all critical systems, and we're working on the engine repairs now." "Admiral," Keel said, his voice filled with emotion, "the galaxy calls you Deathworlders. They fear you. They say you're dangerous and violent. But I see people who cross the stars to save strangers. You didn't ask for payment. You didn't demand anything in return. You just came because we needed help. Why?" Okonkwo was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Captain, where we come from, we have an old saying. When someone calls for help, you answer. Always. It doesn't matter who they are or where they're from. It doesn't matter if it's convenient or easy. When someone needs help, you help them. It's not about protocols or politics. It's about being the kind of person who shows up when it matters most." She looked around at the Quilarian passengers, at the human crews working among them. "Your species gave us a chance when others wanted to isolate us. You spoke up for humanity when we were new to the galaxy. You saw us as people, not just dangerous animals from a death world. How could we not answer when you called?" Keel felt his 3 hearts swell with gratitude. He reached out with one small hand. Okonkwo carefully took it in her much larger one. Mindful of her strength, "Thank you," Keel said simply. "You're welcome." The Admiral replied. Around them, humans and Quilarians worked together, talked together, even laughed together. Cultural barriers broke down naturally. Quilarians asked about Earth and were amazed by stories of mountains that touched the sky and oceans, deep enough to swallow cities. Humans asked about Quilarian music and art and were moved by their beauty dot in the ship's common area. Someone started singing a traditional Quilarian traveling song. A human marine named Rodriguez knew a few words and joined in. Others picked up the melody. Soon, humans and Quilarians were singing together, their voices mixing in harmony. Little Pixa found Corporal Way again and hugged her leg. "I'm glad you came," the youngling said. Way picked her up gently, mindful of how fragile the small creature was. "Me too, little one." "Me too." The gentle wanderer was coming back to life, powered not just by human technology, but by something more powerful: hope, friendship, the understanding that in the vast darkness of space, no one had to be alone. The humans had come when called, and in doing so, they had proven that strength and gentleness were not opposites. They were 2 sides of the same coin. The mark of true civilization, that the Terran fleet escorted the gentle wanderer through space for 2 days, protecting the repaired vessel on its journey home to Quilarian space. During that time, something remarkable happened. The walls between species began to break down. In the dining areas, humans and Quilarians shared meals. The Quilarians were fascinated by human food, though they couldn't eat most of it. Humans were amazed by Quilarian poetry and music. Engineers from both species exchanged technical knowledge. Children played together, finding games that needed no translation. Corporal Way spent hours with little Pixa and her friends, teaching them Earth songs and games. The youngling had completely lost her fear of humans. When her mother worried that she was being a bother, Way just laughed. "She's not a bother. She's wonderful. All your children are." On the second day, Pixa asked Way a question that made the young corporal pause. "Why does everyone in the galaxy call you Deathworlders? You're not scary." Way knelt down to the youngling's level. "Well, we come from a planet that's very dangerous. Earth has storms that can destroy cities, animals that can kill with teeth or claws or poison, diseases that spread fast. The gravity is so strong that most species can't even stand up on our world. We had to become strong and tough just to survive. But you're nice. Pixa insisted. We can be both, Wei explained gently. We can be strong and kind, dangerous and caring. That's what makes us human. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Galactic Community Central Council was preparing for a formal hearing. Counselor Thraxus had filed charges against humanity for unauthorized military deployment, violation of multiple protocols, and exceeding their authority as a member species. The hearing chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of species. Reporters and observers filled every available space. This was expected to be a significant moment in human-galactic relations. Ambassador Marcus Chun sat calmly at the human delegation table. He had been through worse. Behind him sat several advisors and lawyers, prepared for a long legal battle. Counselor Thraxus stood to present his case. The humans deployed a full warfleet without authorization. They ignored proper channels for responding to distress calls. They engaged in military combat without approval from this council. They violated at least 14 separate protocols governing the use of force by member species. He listed each violation in detail, his voice growing more stern with each point. Other counselors nodded along. The case seemed clear. Humanity had broken the rules and must face consequences. Then something unexpected happened. The chamber doors opened and Captain Keel walked in, followed by a delegation of rescued Kolarian passengers. They had traveled directly from their homeworld to attend the hearing. Thraxus looked annoyed. This is most irregular. This hearing does not allow for. I am Captain Keel of the Gentle Wanderer, the Kolarian said, his voice surprisingly strong for such a small being. I am the one who sent the distress call that started all of this. I have something to say. The council chamber fell silent. Thraxus had no choice but to allow him to speak. Keel walked to the center of the chamber. Despite his small size, every eye was on him. You wish to punish the humans? He began. These people who crossed the stars to save my passengers? Who risked their lives to protect strangers? Let me tell you what happened from my perspective. He described the terror of being stranded in space with failing life support, the growing cold and darkness, the fear in the eyes of younglings who didn't understand why the air was running out. I sent a distress call through your proper channels, Keel continued. I followed every protocol. I filed every form. And I was told that help would come in 38 hours. But we only had 14 hours to live. He turned to look at Thraxus directly. Your protocols would have let 3,000 people die. Your rules and procedures and committees would have killed 800 children. The council chamber was completely silent now. Then the humans called us. Keel's voice softened. They said they were coming. They didn't ask permission. They didn't wait for authorization. They just came. They fought pirates to protect us. They repaired our ship. They shared their food and medicine. They played with our younglings and comforted our elderly. Little Pixa stepped forward from the group of passengers. The youngling looked tiny in the massive council chamber, but her voice was clear. The scary monsters from the Deathworld were the only ones who came to save us. She said with the honest bluntness of a child, "What does that make you?" The question hung in the air like an accusation. One of the adult Quillarian passengers, an elderly female named Sora, spoke up. I have lived for 80 years. I have seen many species and many peoples, but I have never seen such courage and compassion as I saw from the humans. They are Deathworlders, yes. They are strong and dangerous, yes. But they are also the best of us. Ambassador Chun finally stood to speak. His voice was calm but firm. The galactic community has rules, and we respect that. Rules help maintain order and prevent chaos. But humanity has a rule that supersedes all others. When someone needs help, you help them. Not when it's convenient. Not when it's been properly authorized. You help them immediately, with everything you have." He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. "We will pay whatever fines you levy. We will attend whatever hearings you require. But we will not apologize for saving lives. And if you receive another distress call and your protocols delay you again, we will come again. Every single time. Because that's who we are." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Species argued with each other. Some supported sanctions. Others called for recognition of the humans' actions. The debate went on for hours. Finally, a vote was called. The motion to sanction humanity failed. Instead, something new emerged. A junior counselor from a small species proposed a new protocol, calling it the Quillarian Accord. It would allow expedited military response to life-threatening distress calls. Modeled on humanity's actions, the vote passed overwhelmingly. As the hearing ended and people filed out, Counselor Thraxis approached Captain Keel. The old Velcori looked tired. "You made your point, Captain. Perhaps some rules do need to change." Keel nodded graciously. "Rules should serve life, Counselor, not the other way around." Back on Earth, Admiral Okongo received a medal in a quiet ceremony. When reporters asked if she felt like a hero, she shook her head. "We're not heroes. We're just people who answered a call for help. Any decent being would have done the same. We just hope we've shown the galaxy that humanity, despite our rough edges, is trying to be a force for good." On Quiller Prime, construction began on a monument in the capital square. It showed a human hand and a Quillarian hand clasped together in friendship. The inscription was carved in both languages. When we called, they came. In the Castor Nebula, where the rescue had taken place, the galactic community placed a beacon. It floated in space, broadcasting continuously in every known language. In honor of the humans who taught us that protocols matter less than people. That strength is measured not in weapons, but in will. That the true mark of civilization is not avoiding danger, but running toward it when others need help. Years later, young Pixa would stand in front of that monument on Quiller Prime with her own younglings, telling them the story of the day the Deathworlders came from Earth. "The galaxy was afraid of them," she would say. "But when we needed help, only they answered. They taught us that being strong and being kind are not opposites. They showed us that the scariest monsters can have the biggest hearts.